Good morning, Facebook fundraising friends. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I'm excited to be here and talk to you about grant writing and nonprofit fundraising. My name is Melanie Lambert. I am Managing Director of Just Write Grants. We are a virtual grant writing company and we serve nonprofit clients all across the country. So I have the opportunity to work with all different types of missions and people serving different types of demographics of people and fundraising for different things. So in the time that I have been able to do this job, I've been blessed with the opportunity to learn a lot about grant writing and fundraising from all different aspects. So I hope that what I'm able to share with you is helpful. This is our first Coffee with a Consultant, where I will be happy to answer any questions that you have. If you've got that one question on a grant application that's giving you some heartburn and you just think, well, if I just had 2 minutes to talk to a grant writer or fundraising consultant and maybe understand a little bit more about what they're asking, read in between the lines a little bit, or just maybe a little bit more experience would help answer that question in a way that would be most appealing to a grant funder. That's what I want to do with these Coffee with a Consultant events. So as I said, this is our very first one, and I am excited to jump right in here. If you have questions, let's wake up the Facebook chat this morning. You can drop the questions in the chat. I'm keeping an eye on it, and I will answer your questions here. Let's say I don't know the answer right off the top of my head. You can message me directly anytime, or you can email me. At Melanie, Melanie, at justwritegrants.com, and I will get the answer for you, or we can talk something through if we need to, if you've got a little bit more in-depth question than you feel like we can answer today. So to get the chat started, I would love to hear, first of all, I hope that you have your favorite version of Human Fuel ready to go for our coffee chat. I would love to hear in the comments and the chat function how you like to take your coffee. So I like mine with cream, and lately I've been doing a little stevia to cut back on sugar. But I used to be one of those people that like to have coffee flavored creamer every morning, but I've scaled back on that a little bit. So as I get older, I enjoy the flavor of the coffee itself, not so much what I'm flavoring it with. So if you'll let me know in the comments just to wake it up and let me know that it's working like it should, let me know how you take your coffee. All right, let's jump right in. So today I want to talk to you all about a question that I get a lot from new or experienced grant writers. There can be lots of times where you get an application that just requires a template, a narrative. There's no template, there's no form to guide you in how to answer their questions or to give you an indication of what they're looking for. They just want you to write a narrative and make your appeal, right? Make your case to them about why your nonprofit should be receiving funding from them. And that's the old school way of doing it. We used to submit those narrative requests all the time, and then forms started coming along, and now it tends to be more form applications than the narratives, but those narratives still exist. So hey, good morning. French vanilla almond milk, that sounds delicious. Cream with no sugar, that I have yet to go that route, but I'm trying to swing into that. Thank y'all so much for sharing. So when we start, we still see those grant narratives as the submission requirements, right? So let's say you're sitting there and you're just, staring at your blank Word document screen and you just don't know where to start because you don't have that framework that a form application can give you and those question prompts, right? So one of the things that I like to share with grant writers as a writing prompt that's helpful for me is something that I learned in my initial professional pathway from journalism. So that was the direction I thought my career was going to go in, but it has been really helpful in my ability to write effective grant applications. So one thing that I share with grant writers to get over that grant writing block is to utilize the 5 W's and 1 H. So when you're writing, think about your who, what, where, when, and how. And that will help prompt you when you're answering those questions to provide the insight that a grant funder would want to know in that application. So you're not necessarily going to do that in that exact order. And I've got some samples of some templates that I use. I use headers a lot in my grant applications that are narrative form, because it lets a reader who may be reading dozens or hundreds of applications go through that document and find the things that they really need to focus on. Especially if they're just a little bit familiar with your organization. They may not need to read over your history again, and they might just skip to, hey, what are they specifically asking for? So when you think about those headers, you'll want to go back after you use the who, what, where, when, why, and how, and fit those into the header. So they're not going to be like, you're not going to have a who header, for example. But if you think about your who, you want to start with who are you? Who are the people associated with your organization? And who do you serve? What's the population that you're trying to make an impact for? The what, who, what, make sure I'm covering all my bases here. What do you do? What purpose do you serve? What's your mission? Where are you located? Is there a specific reason that you're located there? So for example, where I live in Northwest Georgia, and the county that I live in has a significant population of people experiencing homelessness in the south part of our county. So we have a lot of nonprofits that are located there to serve that population. So that's their reason for being located there. So you'll want to explain that in your grant application. We are here to serve this population for this purpose. So who, what, where, when. When do you provide your services? Is there a certain time of the year that you do that? So I work with another nonprofit here locally that does an event at Christmas. They provide a full meal for people that may be experiencing food insecurity, and they provide that at Christmas time. So that's one of their programs that happens at a certain time of year. You may serve all year, but you may want to highlight certain times that you do that. If you're in a campaign that you're fundraising for a specific need, you're going to want to talk about your when a lot. Have you launched that program or that specific need, or building, or whatever it is that you're raising funds for? Or what is your timeline for that campaign? So that's what you're going to talk about at that point. So who, what, where, when, why. The why is really important, because that's where you're really going to make your appeal. What is the need? What is the motivating factor behind what you do as an organization? And then what is the motivating factor behind this particular need that you're asking that funder to support? And then the how. The how is really important and can often be skipped by new grant writers. So your how is, one, how do you implement your programs? And kind of the functionality of those programs. And then also it is, how do you make an impact? So we want to talk about how you change the lives of the clients that you serve. And you want to do that in the form of metrics with outputs and outcomes. And this is something that can get a bit tricky. And let me know if it's something that maybe we need to do as a topic for another one of these events. Is the difference between outputs and outcomes. Outputs are going to be the numbers. How many people did you serve? How many programs did you provide? How many meals at Christmas did you distribute? Those numbers to show from year to year your impact from a data perspective. Your outcomes are more of that human aspect of what you've done. How have you changed these people's lives? Have people who have interacted with your organization said that they experience an increased quality of life? Are they more likely to secure a living wage job? Have they increased their income over a certain period of time? Are they vocalizing to you that they feel like they have more food security? So what's the long-term impact that you're having on those the people that you're serving. So the outputs versus the outcomes is what you're going to want to show in that how section. So as I said, that's not a rundown of exactly verbatim how you're going to structure that grant narrative, but it does help you get past that speed bump of staring at that blank Word document and thinking, well, what do they want to know? Another little bonus tip is you do want to include some history about your organization and about the people who founded it, what their motivation was behind founding the organization. But you want to make sure your history does not dominate your grant application. You probably have an extensive history online. So just doing some high points, pulling out some recognitions that you've received, anything that might be impressive. Remember, you're trying to, for lack of a better term, you're trying to sell the organization. So you don't want readers to get too bogged down in the nitty-gritty timeline of from start to today for your organization. You just want to kind of let them know, here's why we started, here's some things we've accomplished over that time period, and then here's where we are today with our grant application. So thank you so much for sharing about journalism degree and this being a good approach. It's worked really well for me. Whenever I hit those walls of writing, or if I'm trying to inspire some clients to provide some insight that we can use while we're drafting that content. So I hope it's helpful for you as well. I would love to continue doing these Coffee with the Consultants. If you have any more questions, we're probably going to wrap up here in just a second, but if you've got a question that I can answer for you, please submit that in the chat. And if you think of something after the fact and you're like, you know what, I wish I'd asked Melanie that in the Coffee with a Consultant event, you can visit our website at any time. Go to justwritegrants.com/live. And there's a form there where you can submit your questions or suggested topics. If you like the idea about talking about outcomes versus outputs, let me know and we can definitely work that in. My plan is to host these once a month. So I look forward to having a coffee date with you again here soon, and I love talking shop, so that's the nerd in me. I could talk about fundraising and grant writing all day. So I appreciate you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing your questions, and I'll see you again in April for our next Coffee with a Consultant. Thank you. Have a great day.